Hi there. Today I want to talk about energy healing and everything you've ever wanted to know about energy healing. What is it? What is the energy body? Talk about different energy healing techniques, different energy healers, what energy healing is good for, and a little bit about what's the difference between most energy healing techniques and the kind of variation of energy healing that I do here at the BioSoul Integration Center. And speaking of that, my name is Jay Eaker, and I am the owner and founder, etc., of the BioSoul Integration Center in Louisville, Colorado. And I help soul-led people to embody their soul's gifts so that they can share those gifts, express those gifts through their bodies onto this planet, so they can share their soul's gifts with and live out their purpose, do the thing that they came here to do, which has a lot to do with serving others with their gifts, helping people embody their soul's gifts so that they can do that. So if any of this information, first off, before we get started, if you could like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, please, like the video, leave a comment if you've experienced energy healing or have some experience of your own, or if it's something that you are interested in. Please give me a yes in the comment section, or leave a comment. I like to interact with people in the comment section. Yeah, so, and wherever else that you might find this, you might find it on podcast, in podcast form. You might find it on Facebook, you might find it on Instagram. Wherever you find it, please like it, share it, and please share it, pass it along, to people who you think might be interested in this information. Okay, enough about me. So what is energy? To begin with, we're talking about energy healing. What is energy? So it goes, the energy as it pertains to our bodies has a lot of names. There's chi, prana, life force energy. In the world of chiropractic, there's something called innate intelligence and universal intelligence. Those are forms of energy as they are related to our bodies and beings. And sometimes energy is kind of a amorphous, esoteric term, but it's a thing. Energy is the sort of back office to everything, to all of the more physical stuff that we see in the world. There's energy behind it all. I think, what was this book that I read? The Dancing Wu Li Masters. It's kind of, I think, dancing. Is that what it is? Dancing Wu Li, something like that. It's a kind of older book about trying to, describe quantum physics to the lay person. I don't know if that's the book or not, but if that's the title or not. But in that book, I remember there was an analogy or an example that we think these physical things, they're made up of atoms, right? And we kind of tend to think like an atom is like a little BB, like a small, very, very, very small, hard particle of this or of this or whatever physical thing. It's like the smallest version of that thing. I guess technically that's a molecule, but anyway, an atom, is the smallest version of the constituents that make up these things. What is the basic elements? Anyway, we kind of, I think, tend to think of an atom as a small hard particle, but its nucleus is made up of neutrons and protons. And then there is an electron field, and electrons are kind of swirling around the neutrons and protons, I believe is how it works. But there was an analogy I heard that if you take an atom and you blow it up to the size of a football stadium, then the proton and the neutron would be like a pea or something in the center of the football, in the center of the field, and the electrons would be like a size of, you know, something very small. Maybe the neutron was like a cotton ball or something, and the electron was a pea or something. But anyway, the pea is swirling around, you know, around the cheap seats. That's how far away the electron, that's the distance in the electron, in the nucleus of an atom between the protons and neutrons and the electron. I don't know if I'm getting this totally right, but anyway, the point is that there's lots of space there somehow. That this stuff is not as solid somehow as we think, that there's a lot of space involved, and that space that's running in the background is energy, basically. And energy is something that can be measured. So it is a scientific fact that there are these sort of fields around our bodies. And of course, you know, I don't understand why some people think energy is such a woo-woo topic when, you know, we can make a cell phone call to the other side of the planet, or we can have this a laptop or a phone or a smartphone that is not attached to anything, and yet it can download all this information. You know, it can connect you with all these websites and things like that. So that's all, you know, that there are satellites that are bouncing Wi-Fi signals and TV signals and telephone signals, you know, off. And so there is a way in which, you know, we are very, in our day-to-day lives, those are all forms of energy, and we are, you know, using those forms of energy. So it's kind of a surprise to me sometimes that people think that, you know, the idea of energy in your body is kind of a woo-woo topic. So, but anyway, energy, you know, it's the sort of the back office to all of this physical stuff. And as far as our bodies and lives are concerned, there's something called the energy body. And there are a lot of different books and models out there. Some of you may have heard of Barbara Ann Brennan. She has some books. What are her books called? Hands of Light is one of them. Light Emerging, I believe, is another one. But in those books, she has these very beautiful and colorful diagrams of the energy body, of these layers of energy around our bodies. Another book I have at home is called, it's by Cindy Dale. It's called The Subtle Body, an Encyclopedia of Energetic Anatomy, and it outlines all of the different cultures, the different forms of the energy body that show up in all these different cultures, whether it's, you know, Chinese medicine or Japanese or Tibetan or Native American or what have you. All these different cultures, and, you know, have their own models of the energy system that relates to our bodies. And you know, of course, if you're familiar at all with the work that I do, something I call BioSoul Integration, the foundation for that is something called network chiropractic. That's the kind of the lineage, one of the lineages that I come through, is this network chiropractic thing. And that was invented and developed by a man named Donald Epstein. And he, you know, he has a model for the sort of energetic fields, what he calls intelligences, because they contain information. The fields contain information, and they inform the creation and maintenance of the body, of this physical stuff, actually. And so there's a life force field, there's a mental field, there's emotional field, and then mental fields, and then what he calls soul field, and then even sort of more universal global soul field. So there are these energetic fields that surround the body, and again, they kind of inform the body. And that's my understanding from working with people the way that I work with people in here, is that it kind of goes back to conception. I think when we are conceived, there is, you know, the uniting of sperm and ovum, and there's kind of a window that opens in the space-time continuum, and there's an energetic matrix that sort of created that is made up of, on one end, of DNA that we get sort of from the planet and all the beings that were here, but also from the, on the other end, from the spirit world. And that comes together to sort of like make this matrix. And that matrix is a sort of lattice, an energetic lattice of sorts that it's what tells, if you ever thought of like conception happens and then all these cells start to form, and like how do those cells know how to turn into a nose or a heart or a foot or whatever? There's this energetic lattice that's already there, that before all of that starts, it's already there, and the energetic lattice is what tells the cells to turn into, heart cell, to differentiate. And that's my hallucination anyway, what I sense kind of working on people the way that I do. And that energetic lattice, or that energy body, sort of stays with us as we develop, as we grow and develop, and until we die. So that kind of brings us to what is energy healing. I guess I'd say the work that I do is a form of energy healing. Energy medicine, vibrational healing, bioenergetic healing, soul healing. I think these are all terms that kind of describe energy healing. But the idea behind energy healing is that, like I described, there is this energetic field that is associated with our bodies, and that field is primary. We kind of tend to think in this mechanistic world that the body creates the energy field. If there is one, the body creates the energy field, but I would say that's not true. I would say the energy field was there first, that the body is, forms around that energy field, and that anything, dis-ease, illness, emotional issues, organ systems that aren't working like they're supposed to, etc., there is something going on in the energy field that, I would think that happened first. And then there was a corresponding change in the body. And so the energy field, energy is primary. And, an energy healer, we kind of got to take the word heal. I would say the word heal is a word that means to make whole. And if there are sort of kinks in our energy field, it translates into a separation in ourselves, ways that we fragment ourselves and separate ourselves. And so energy healing is about sort of facilitating a change, a positive change in the energy field, such that the body can then heal itself. The natural healing mechanisms of the body can actually do what they need to do. Energy healing was sort of, over the years, there are some famous energy healers, but I think, it's been made famous by celebrities a lot. I'm trying to think of this kind of famous woman whose name I can't come up with right now, but a more recent example is, and something that was kind of a buzz in the network world or the healing world in general, was Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Lab. And it's a Netflix. It's on Netflix. Look up Goop Labs. But it's a show, and each episode she kind of talks about some alternative healing modality. And one of those episodes, episode 5, was about energy healing, and it featured a man whose name is John Amaral. He was the energy healer, and he happens to be a longtime network chiropractic practitioner, now energy healer, and doing kind of his own thing and energy healing. And it featured him working on Gwyneth Paltrow and her friends. I'll put a link to that episode. I did a video on that too. I'll put a link to that in the description. But so that's kind of, it's been made famous by healers along the way, and that's kind of a more recent more recent version of that. But there are some, energy healers here in Boulder, actually. I think I'd like to mention some energy healers in Boulder that I've had the great pleasure of working with. One of those is Helen Knight. She's an energy healer and I think does a lot of cacao ceremonies now. Another is Erin Love, and she's a shamanic healer and acupuncturist, but also does something called core synchronism, which is an energy healing technique. I've worked with someone named Sherry Bauer in Boulder, and she has kind of a shamanic flavor to her work, to her type of energy healing work too. Then, there's a mentor, great mentor and teacher of mine named Lawrence Conlon, who's a long-time network practitioner and energy healer in the Boulder area here, and he's kind of my mentor and teacher, and did a lot of work with him, and anything that I know about energy healing I have has a lot to do with him. And then I would include myself on that list here at the BioSoul Integration Center, and I help people in the area, like I said, embody their soul's gifts. So, speaking of that, there's lots of different energy healing techniques. There's Reiki, there's acupuncture, which has to do with the energetic pathways in the body. There's something called pranic healing, there's qigong, there's polarity therapy, there's craniosacral, there's healing touch, reflexology, network chiropractic, as I've already mentioned, though network chiropractors in general generally do not want to be lumped in with energy healers. That seems to be an insult of some sort to chiropractors. But however, the founder of chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, he started out as a magnetic healer. Just a little history lesson there. But there's crystal healing, sound healing, light healing, flower essences and essential oils, distance healing, since energy is not necessarily a local phenomenon. It can be done at a distance, and I do provide distance healing sessions for people. And so there's just a lot of different energy healing techniques. And some might ask, like, what is energy healing good for? Well, that's kind of an interesting question. A lot of people, they want their back pain to go away, or they want their diabetes to go away, or they want their knee to be fixed, or they want their organ systems to work like they're supposed to, or their high blood pressure to disappear. People want those things fixed. Like I said, when someone comes to my office and it's like, can you help me with your back pain, my back pain? It's like, yes, of course I can. I totally can. And it's going to mean that your life needs to change. It's going to mean that you totally retool the way that you interact with the world and yourself. So to the extent energy healing is all good for those basic things of getting rid of symptoms, but to the extent that people are willing to really get involved in the process and really be open to changing their bodies and lives and growing spiritually, when people have that sort of leaning, it's a lot more effective, because again, healing is really about becoming whole. And becoming whole sort of necessarily includes all of the parts of you. The mental, emotional, not just the physical parts, but the mental, emotional, the energetic, the spiritual parts as well. I feel like I want to make a little bit of a distinction between the work that I do and energy healing. And in order to do that, I kind of want to talk about, there are 3 different kind of modes that healing entails in people's bodies and lives. The first of those is where people are just learning, there's a program in there that got stored in there that says it's not okay to look at stuff. It's not okay to be aware of it. And so there's a lot of vigilance in the system. And so the first step is kind of like let that vigilance drop away. And when that happens, then people can start to, their system can start to look at what their system has previously thought was not safe to look at. And in that process, there's a whole bunch of tension, a whole bunch of energy that gets bound up in the system that hasn't gotten to move. It's natural for energy to move and circulate, but in this process of separating ourselves and walling off parts of ourselves, energy piles up. And so as our systems are able to look at that and there's some safety in the system, they start to dissipate some of that built up energy. So and that's excellent. That's a great thing to happen. And you know, energy healing often talks about clearing energy. So one capacity of energy healing is to sort of move the built up energy, move the piled up energy. There's also a second mode of healing, which is really to then, after we've cleared a bunch of energy, to realize that that energy is actually part of us. And there's a reason that that energy builds up that has to do with how we're interacting with ourselves and our world, our emotions, our thoughts. It starts to involve those areas more. And a more advanced strategy than just letting go of just clearing the energy is to actually include it. You transcend it by including it. That's another stage, and in that stage we are embodying that energy as opposed to pushing it away in any way, shape, or form. We are including it into the whole of us, and then that way it can influence us. Shadow work is a term that sort of describes that, sort of embodying, accepting, acknowledging, embracing and including the repressed parts of ourselves. So that's kind of a second mode of healing. Then there's a third mode, which is more about awakening. It's more about universal spiritual truth, coming into contact with that. Expansion, which everybody loves. Everybody loves expansion. Not so much the other parts of the healing journey that I just described, but everybody wants expansion, right? And that's a third mode along the healing journey that happens. Well, energy healing, I've noticed, kind of in the New Age world, tends to sort of focus on either dissipating, clearing the energy, generally, or it tends to focus more on a universal the universal connection, the non-duality connection, the spiritual connection, the connection that, you know, is not dependent on space and time, that has to do with our ancestors, that more universal energy. You know, so my experience is that in general, energy healing has to do with the focuses a lot on that first mode, clearing energy, or of this sort of like universal mode. However, you know, that our thing, the reason we're here is to be able to share our gifts. You know, that's the universal thing's more about connecting with those gifts, great, but we need to embody them and we need to express them. I think wholeness doesn't happen until healing doesn't really happen until we can share those gifts, embody those gifts, and share them. And that's more about the sort of second mode that I just talked about, the shadow work, about embodying, embracing, embodying, including the parts of us that and the energy associated with the parts of us that we've pushed away. And so I like to think that here at the BioSoul Integration Center, I kind of specialize can sort of handle all of those modes, the full healing journey package, but especially are able to sort of focus on that second, which I feel like is really, really important. You know, I want to say something about you know, things that you can do for yourself. So it's really, you know, options are certainly to go see someone like myself, but they're just like simple things that you can do for yourself. Epsom salt to sort of like clean up and help your energy system. Epsom salt baths, essential oils were mentioned. Pay attention to your environment, what you're surrounding yourself by, because your energy system is going to entrain to the environment that you're in. Placing your meditation, for sure. Oh, I don't want to mention that, but meditation helps to connect your energy body, helps to equilibrate maybe your energy body. Placing your hands on your body when it hurts. These are just some basic things that you can do as far as your own energy healing goes. So I think that's it. So I don't know if you've ever done energy healing. I would not hesitate to try if you're experiencing some problems, whether it's in your body, whether it's emotionally, whether it's illness, or whether you're really interested in spiritual growth and spiritual healing. Certainly don't hesitate to try it out. It's not something like conventional chiropractic or something where there's a really physical thing, or physical therapy or something where there's really physical, where if done wrong it can cause injury. So it's not really something like that necessarily on a physical level, although you want to trust your own instincts about who you go to. If it doesn't feel right somehow, or they don't match with your values, the person that you see, if it doesn't match with your values, trust your instincts. I would say, you need to give it some time compared to other things, because the energy field can change sort of like very quickly, but these physical bodies and our belief systems, and has to do with our identity. It has to do with like who we've been, the program that sort of we've been running out in the world, our identities. And so the physical bodies and our identities and our belief systems and all that takes time to change. And so, be patient with yourself and give yourself some time to sort of integrate things. And keep an open mind, because healing rarely looks like we think it's gonna look. We always, have an idea in our heads. Like I said, people come to me like, you help me with my back pain? And it's like, yes, I can. But that means you're gonna have to feel more. It means that your life's gonna have to change. It means that you're gonna have to change in some fundamental way, because your back pain is related to the stories you're telling yourself, the ways that you're interacting with yourself and the world, who you believe you are, what you believe this whole thing is, and what you believe, who you believe you are in relationship to that. Your back pain is related to that in some way. So, keep an open mind, because healing often unfolds in this sort of perfect way that tends to that includes the whole of everything. It's holographic in that way, or fractal in that way, that it sort of healing happens. Healing in you happens for, it's related to the good of all. It happens in relationship to the whole. And so keep an open mind. Okay. If you feel like you like this, please give me a like, please give me a thumbs up. Share it with anyone who you think might be interested, and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, or here in my office, and I look forward to helping you express more life. Have a great day.